All right, so how do you make sure that you get your offer accepted in a multiple offer scenario, or maybe it's a bidding war, or perhaps a low inventory environment that with which we are in now in the middle of 2022. We've been in a low inventory, multiple offer bidding war environment for almost 2 years now, or more than 2 years, or depending on who you ask, a long time. So how do you get your offer accepted? Well, we've got a lot of helpful hints here, and you really should use more than one or all of these if you possibly can. All right, so the one and only thing you got to do is give me a call. That's it. All your problems will be solved.
Oh, magic.
But seriously, a great real estate team that is ready and able and is used to and can work in an environment like that has had multiple offers accepted in a multiple offer scenario, that's the team you want to be with. Certainly you want to have your own real estate professional on your side who has a fiduciary legal responsibility to yourself. Now, some schools of thought is, well, let me call the listing agent directly. They'll make more commission, or the seller will keep more money in their pocket and it'll be better for you as a buyer. And maybe that'll work. Now, I don't agree that that'll work 100% of the time. Certainly it's a lower percentage. A lot of the times I might be biased, but if you want to call the listing agent directly, understand that you won't have anybody protecting you. So you want to have your own agent who is responsible for your best interest and will do the best job that they can for you. So we're gearing up, we're getting prepared. We also want to be prepared to make a lot of offers. We want to be prepared to look at a lot of houses. We want to be prepared to literally stop, drop, and go look at a place and make an offer immediately. Now, if you're feeling pressure or you don't feel comfortable in some scenario, then don't do it. But put yourself out there, and put yourself out there with some gusto and be ready to rush a little bit.
But it's available now. Yes, it is. Hey, let's go look at it.
But again, if you're not feeling exactly 100% sure of something, don't do it then. Don't make the offer because you may regret it in the end.
Oh, it's perfect.
But we're going to help you through it. So with great preparation, we need to have our loan and our money in order. So get your bank accounts in order. Are you going to be paying cash? Are you going to be getting a loan? We need to have our finances ready to go so you are ready to make an offer when you do find that place that you're looking for, that you do want to make an offer on. Especially if you need to make an offer quickly, it certainly helps to have that pre-approval letter, already be through that process, and even already be committed by the bank, have a mortgage commitment in hand, which will put you way ahead of anybody else with just a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter. You may be able to look at a house and then quickly call the bank and some turnaround time. You may be able to get it all done in one day, but there may be some issues, some glitches, some things that are delayed. Life in its entirety, in its expectancy or unexpectancy could happen. Also, there could be some things in your credit that we're not aware of. So let's just get our finances in order first so we're ready to make a lot of offers. Okay, so right now what's working best is offering 10% over asking, all cash, waiving all contingencies, having no inspections, waiving the appraisal. In some cases, the buyer is paying the seller's closing costs, whether it is and including any fees that are involved, deed prep and so forth, tax, transfer taxes, also real estate commissions. So all cash, as is, no inspections, no appraisal, paying the seller's fees, and perhaps even escalating the price higher to an unlimited state. That's what's winning the bids mostly. Now that's on one end of the scale. Of course, there's the other end of the scale, and somewhere in the middle lies what's happening to most of us. You may not have the amount of cash that you want, but one way around that is what we could do is we borrow from our 401k, we borrow from a family member's 401k or some sort of retirement plan or some amount of money in some account somewhere else. We liquidate it, we take it, we buy the house, we refinance, and we put the money back. You have to check directly with your institutions there. If you have a 401k or an IRA or something, they probably have some plan in place just for this reason. We also could use hard money or private financing as cash. Now those rates are higher and the terms aren't really ideal to hold for 30 years, but for a few months it costs a few percentage points and you get the house that you want. Certainly would make you think twice and is absolutely a viable opportunity for you. As far as the loans go, if you're going to be getting a loan, that's great. Conventional is best. More money down just looks better on paper. a large deposit, so an earnest money deposit, which is protected by the agreement of sale, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000, the higher the better. If you're going to get a loan, the more money you can put down, the better. There are some conventional loans that are 0% down, 3%, 5, 10, whatever it may be. So whatever the financing is in place, we want to have it as cleanest and the most beneficial, the most attractive. We want to put ourselves as the strongest buyer that we can. If we're getting a conventional loan or an FHA loan or a VA loan as well, and we need an assist, we want to pad that into the price. We also want to be able to cover any repairs that are required by the lender. Now, speaking of repairs, if we're talking about waiving inspections, which I do not suggest you do, but there are ways around that as well. So we could have, the first way to have, and most ideal, is to have a pre-offer inspection. Most home inspections are in and around a couple, 3 hours long. They're very invasive, they're very great, they're very, very educational. They'll be on the roof, in the basement. They'll be looking in the cupboards. They'll be looking at your gutters. I mean, they will look at every aspect of the home with a fine-tooth comb. So what a lot of home inspection companies are offering is an abridged version of that. So maybe half the time, or about an hour's length, they're going to look at major systems. They're going to walk and talk with you, if you will. So you have a showing, you set up a second showing, a pre-offer inspection, and you have this inspection, if you will, we're calling it, which is what it is, by a professional. Now it gives us the ability, the comfort level, to make an offer without having an inspection. If you still want to have a full-blown inspection and you're not necessarily wanting to have a rush job or an abridged version, you want to make your offer contingent on the inspection, we want to do something that is the next level, or as you see, we're coming down the line, or we're trying to balance things out. The next thing in line would be to have inspections are for informational purposes only. So the buyer has the right to terminate or accept the property based on the inspection findings. This tells the seller, look, no matter what I find, I'm either going to take it or leave it. Another variation of that would be to put a deductible in. So the buyer will cover the first $5,000 of repairs, let's say, or maybe a single line item. The buyer will cover every and any single repair item that is $250 or $750 or less. This is again telling the seller we're not going to be nickel and diming them, but we are going to be looking for items and things that are less expensive than $1,000 or whatever amount. Aren't really a necessity, but major items that are wrong we're going to be asking you for. We want to make sure any contingency we want to have it in as the quick amount of time as possible. So offering to have an inspection in under 7 days is going to be your best bet, no matter what kind of inspection you have. All right, so let's talk about waiving the appraisal. Now, waiving the appraisal, there's really no end way around it. We can raise the price if the appraisal doesn't come in higher, but if the appraisal doesn't come in higher, we can't really raise the price. The only option you have there is to pay the difference in cash. So you can get a loan if the appraisal comes in higher, great. However, if the appraisal comes in lower, there's going to be a deficit or a gap, so you're going to need to cover it in cash. If you have the cash to do it, or maybe you can borrow it, or you can get it from someone. Now, we can't borrow money that the lender isn't aware of, so don't go out and borrow money without telling the lender. We got to talk. This way it's not as easy as, not as cut and dry as I'm making it sound, but covering any appraisal gap has to be done in cash. It is that simple. If you can or won't or don't want to cover any gap in appraisal, you can cover some of the gaps. So let's say the appraisal comes in $10,000 difference. You're willing to cover $2,000, $3,000, maybe $4,000. You can put a cap on that as well. This is again showing the seller that you want to work with them, you want to help, you really want the house, but you can only afford so much, and you need to cap things on your side as well. If you didn't want to offer over asking, you didn't want to pay more than the house is worth, or you didn't want to pay more than they're asking for the house, and there's certainly no way you're going to make an offer of full price, and you don't want to offer more or less, you don't want to borrow money, you don't want to get an equity line of credit, you don't want to use lines of credit of somebody else's, you could just make the best, strongest offer you want. And I would advise you do that. Make an offer. Don't not make an offer because of maybe what you think you're up against or you think might happen, or don't be a naysayer. Just make the offer you want to make and let's do it. Now, there's a pretty cool thing called a price escalation. So if they're asking $300,000 for the house, or $400,000 or whatever it might be, and you're willing to pay up to, let's say, $420,000. So you can offer $400,000 or $405,000 or whatever you want, and then you can escalate. This is another hint now. We escalate higher. So we can escalate above the next highest offer up to a certain cap. So let's say you're willing to pay $400, but you don't want to get all the way there all at once. You offer $400 or $405, and you escalate in incremental levels up to $420,000. Now they do have to prove that there was another offer in. So you offer $405, another offer comes in at $407. Immediately you're at $408 or $409 or whatever incremental amount you're talking about. They do have to show us that other offer in order for us to then change our asking price. Now, if and when you do escalate, I do advise you use sort of an odd number. $1,000 is fine, but $1,121 is even better, or $237. If we're a little bit higher, instead of $250, or let's do $262. A little bit of an odd number is going to push us into another level. If somebody comes in at $408, and they're escalating also in $100 increments, but you're escalating in $121 increments, who's going to eventually get the property under their name, as you can probably see the point that I'm getting at. All right, so we're not stopping here. I still got some other great hints. Hints, tricks up my sleeve. So the love letter. Now there's the power of love. In the city of brotherly love, it works here, and it works really everywhere. Now, the love letters may not be accepted by the seller. They may not want to see it. Some of the agents are not wanting to see them either. But write a letter on how much you love the house. Now, less is more. The shorter the letter, the better, because they'll actually read it. You want to include a picture, a personal picture of you and your family. That's great too. Now, you do not have to make the love letter. You do not have to put the picture, but it's just an added little thing. I have seen some places get accepted for less money because of the love letter. But I can assure you that price is king, and 99% out of the time, it's the amount of money, not the amount of love that goes into the letter, but why not try if you wish? Additionally, if we are using a lender, trick number, how many is this, 42? We have our lender call behind the offer. So once we submit the offer, we have the lender reach out to the listing agent and explain how wonderfully qualified that Mr. and Mrs. Buyer are. We also have the lender explain how easy it's going to be for the seller and for the listing agent and how smooth the process is going to be. And we help solidify in their minds the picture of how easy this is going to be. Now, speaking of the agent, you also have to have your agent or your professional that's representing you befriend the listing agent, okay? Now, you're not going to brown nose, well, a little bit of that, but you're also going to, maybe a little bit of a kissing you-know-what. We want to be professionally, but a little bit overboard. So we want to ask the listing agent, how do they like to be communicated with? That's a big one because some of us prefer texting, some of us prefer email or calling. And if you ask that and then actually communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with, they will appreciate that. People will appreciate that question no matter what scenario you're in life. So ask and they will tell you. You also want to ask, what is going to make it easier, faster, better? What is the best scenario for you, Mr. or Mrs. Listing Agent, and the sellers? What is best? Maybe it's a particular settlement date. Maybe it's a particular scenario where they want to stay in the house for some time after settlement. We need to understand that, so having a conversation and actually reading what the agent is sharing with us on the MLS is super huge and critical, which will probably cut down on some other questions you may need to ask them. But have a conversation and ask what is best. All right, we also want to have some hope and faith. Now, hope and faith are a wonderful thing, but you got to have a positive attitude. You got to have a positive mental picture. Use your power to get the house. Think you want it, see that you want it, and have a lot of faith that you're going to do what it takes to get the place. You have that tenacity, you have that good attitude, you're going to do it. If you need other help or you have questions, hit me up anytime. I'm Gregory Martier, your local real estate expert. And check out the other videos on our channel here. We got a lot of epic content about living in Philadelphia, playing in Philadelphia, living in the area in general. I'm glad you stopped out. Hit us subscribe, hit me up, text me anytime, click the bell, click hello. Have a great day, everybody.